Divided into the 4 key areas of lifting, carrying, pushing and pulling. We're going to take a look at each of these separately to help you understand the hazards, dangers and risks that you could be confronted with. There are 5 clear steps in performing a safe lift. Stop and think. By that we mean assess the risk. For example, is the environment safe? Look around, use your eyes and common sense. Ask yourself, am I physically able to do this? A 5'2" woman can't be expected to have the physical strength of a 6-foot tall man. Age, height and levels of fitness should all be taken into account. Nobody should force you to lift anything you don't think you're able to lift. Once you've stopped, thought and assessed, then take the appropriate actions. Place yourself in a good posture. Keep your feet apart and angle them. Your leading leg should be forward and comfortable. Then soften your knees. They are pivotal to the whole lift. Keep your back naturally straight. Failing to keep your back upright could result in a slipped or prolapsed disc or other serious injuries. Take a grip on the load. Make one final assessment of the weight. Keep your shoulders level. Your eyes forward, which helps in keeping your natural posture. Keep relaxed and don't tense. Your whole body should be facing in the same direction. Do not twist during the lift and don't overreach. Take a firm grip. Start to lift. Keeping your arms within the boundary formed by your legs, start to lift. Using the power from your legs, push up, maintaining a naturally straight back and a controlled posture within a smooth upward movement. Don't jerk, and if you think at the start of the lift that the load is too heavy for you, don't continue. Keep the load in your control. The load must be close to your body. Maintain your grip. Be aware of your load characteristics. In other words, carrying liquids or uneven loads can present their own problems. Follow these steps and you should have lifted safely, but now you're on to the next stage of manual handling. You're carrying a load. When you're walking with a load, move your feet smoothly and avoid twisting the trunk of your body. Keep the load close to you and always maintain control. If there's one side of the load heavier than the other, then the heavier side should be closest to your body. When you're carrying a load, be vigilant and aware of your surroundings. Always be alert to any possible danger. Your initial assessment will have identified any hazards on the route that you're taking. Things do change, so always be ready for the unexpected. Also, if you begin to feel tired or strained, stop. Don't overdo it. Now that you've arrived at your destination, you need to put the load down. This is a reverse of the lifting process. So again, a naturally straight back, head up, eyes forward, use your legs as a pivot and taking the weight on the legs, slowly and smoothly lower your body. Release the load and stand up in the same position. The lift and the carrying have now been completed safely and successfully. The assessment of a load shows whether it's too heavy or awkward to move manually. If so, you need to find another means to move it. There's a variety of products on the market to help you with this, and using some of them will inevitably mean you have to push. The palletizer is used to lift and move pallets up to 1 ton in weight. You need specific training to use a pallet truck, but there are other products designed for smaller and lighter loads. These include the traditional 2-wheel truck. You can also use the platform trolley with wheels, scissor lift tables, or even the good old wheelbarrow. But remember, when lifting on and off any of these, you must follow good lifting procedures. Like lifting, pushing requires a technique of its own, and it applies to any equipment that your assessment recommends. Using the pallet truck as an example, a firm grip should be placed on the handles. Take the weight of the load, lean forward slightly, keeping a natural posture. Use the power in your legs to push off in an even and controlled manner. Once you're moving, maintain a steady speed, and again, you should have assessed the route you're taking for any potential hazards. When you reach your drop-off point, stop smoothly, again no jerking, and maintain the load in a safe and stable condition. Carry out your unloading in the same safe way as you would load your trolley or truck. If you've been using a manual handling aid, please make sure it's returned to its safe storage area. There's good reason for this. If you leave a truck lying around, it may become a hazard itself. Or even worse, anybody expecting to use an aid from the designated area, finding it's not there, may be tempted to undertake unsafe handling. And we all know where that could lead. Pulling is the least acceptable way of moving a load, but sometimes it's just unavoidable. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have to pull a load, make sure you take great care. The dangers in pulling a load are injury to your back through excessive strain or twisting. Your body is being used in an unnatural way. There's a danger of the load coming forward and injuring you. Pulling a load is not as controllable or as safe as pushing. If you're pushing and the load goes out of control, it will go away from you. If you're pulling a load, then it can overrun you. If you find that you have to pull a load, maintain a straight back, grip the trolley or truck firmly and take the weight of the load. Using the power from your legs, start the movement slowly, smoothly and in a controlled manner. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, stop and reassess the situation. Maybe you'll need to lighten the load or get help. You'll be surprised how often we take pulling for granted in our everyday working lives. What we all have to do is recognise the potential for harm and don't take risks. Getting into the habit of safe manual handling doesn't just come through instinct. You have to think about what you're doing and follow safe practice every time. You'll probably lift, carry, push or pull something most days. And if you just stop for a second and think about it, assess what you're doing physically and put into practice what you've learned, then hopefully you'll reduce the risk of accident or injury. So to summarise, avoid manual handling if at all practical. Assess the situation and the task. Reduce the risk. Work within your limitations. Control your movements. Don't overdo it. Something that we tend not to associate with manual handling is continual repetitive movements. But the risk of injury from these movements is just as real and as threatening as if you were carrying or lifting a large load. We couldn't possibly cover every situation that happens in the workplace, but we can offer you some basic guidance to good practice. Repetitive movement is commonplace and an integral part of many jobs. It's all about the way you move. Ask yourself, do you stretch too much? Are you having to twist or turn? Does your seating cause you discomfort? Are you suffering any aches or pains? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, you could possibly be exposing yourself to harm. Unfortunately, repetitive movement can have a cumulative effect and cause strain injuries and upper limb disorders if not acted upon and corrected. To lessen the risk in these situations, a competent assessor should carry out ergonomic assessments. This will cover the suitability of the working environment to the individual. It will suggest how adjustments could be made to reduce the problem. You can also help in reducing the risk of a potential strain injury by working as a team. Remember, the person doing the task has the hands-on knowledge and experience of the situation. If you feel strain or pain, you must report it to your supervisor, and a solution must be sought to remedy the problem. Don't suffer in silence. There are a number of environmental factors that will influence your assessment of each particular manual handling task. Space constraints can restrict you from handling in a safe way. You may have to adapt handling techniques and equipment to suit a particular area or situation. Confined spaces are dangerous, and a proper risk assessment must be carried out prior to any attempt to handle loads. Whenever you're moving loads, be aware of the surface conditions around you. An uneven, poorly maintained or wet surface could prove disastrous. Taking note of surface conditions will be part of your risk assessment. If you think there's a hazard, it's your duty to report it. Levels of lighting must be adequate for anybody moving or handling loads. "It was dark and I tripped over something" is a poor excuse for an accident. You should have assessed the situation in the first place and made sure there was good lighting for you to work safely. Moving from level to level when handling a load can be dangerous. Stairs, steps and slopes present very real hazards. Walking up or downstairs with a load should be undertaken with great care and forethought. Moving up and down stairs takes extra effort, and don't think that going downhill is easier. It poses its own problems.
Luke, this lot's got to go over to Chester right now.
Okay,
Distance of movement is also important when assessing the risks involved with manual handling. You have to consider how far you have to travel, and will you be able to do this in a safe manner. Carrying even a small load over 10 metres or so can be physically demanding. Don't overdo it, don't underestimate it, don't get caught out.